Hey guys, this is John at Perfect Vocals Academy. This next video is going to be about using mid-range EQ to really enhance your vocals in the mix. I know a lot of times when I'm mixing after doing a bunch of processing, sometimes it still isn't cutting through the mix the way I would like it to, so boosting mid-range can be that it factor. Before we get into this video, hit the subscribe button for me. It would be very appreciated. Hey guys, welcome to Perfect Vocals Academy YouTube channel. I've been posting a lot of TikToks lately. I'm reaching a lot of people on there, and I actually just posted a clip of me boosting 800 hertz in a vocal, and I got some flack for it. Some people were saying like, no, that's a nasally area, blah, blah, blah. It's not always, because as we know, like there's no set answer for anything. There was also people getting upset because they're like, oh, it doesn't always work. It works a lot of times. So 800 hertz is that, like, I've found is kind of a sweet frequency a lot of times. The reason I usually go for it is because by the time you've got rid of the bad mids, maybe the nasally mids, or tightened up the low mids, did the high mids, tightened up the high mids, by the time you did all that, a lot of times the vocal isn't cutting in the mix good enough. So 800 hertz can be a really nice frequency to get it to cut through. Without it being nasally, a subtle boost with 800 hertz can be pretty beneficial. Perfect Vocals Academy presents the Vocal Mixing Masterclass. Do you want to become a profitable audio engineer? This course includes a PVA sound treatment ebook, 15 in-depth videos, as well as worksheets for each video. Bonus video, how to profit as an up-and-coming audio engineer, and a bonus Pro Tools template using Waves plugins is also included. I'm going to show you an example here. So we have, this is one of my favorite plugins for vocal EQ, and mainly because the 800 hertz built in here. So make sure you're listening with like headphones or speakers in a treated room. So here's without. Oh, Brody tripping, had to get the mans off. Said I'm switching, gotta be kidding, bitch, you dead wrong. So when I listen to that, I hear like kind of a harsh vocal. It's a little harsh. So what 800 hertz can do is it can kind of balance it out to where if a vocal's kind of harsh, you're adding in some mid-range, and it's automatically kind of making it less harsh and more full. 800 hertz is like a fullness. It can be a bad frequency, yes, if you record it in a bad room and there's like room sound and it's echoey. It can be a bad frequency. But if you have a nice isolated vocal, it's good. And like I said, I'm not normally boosting this off the rip. This is one of the last EQ moves that I do. It's kind of like a last resort when I've done everything to the vocal and it's still not really cutting through. So here's with. Brody tripping, had to get the mans off. Said I'm switching, gotta be kidding, bitch, you dead wrong. Got some shit that make your head pop. Niggas scared, got them gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental. So it kind of fattened it up a little bit in the mid-range. It made the vocal less thin, but all I did was boost 2 dB, and then I'm bringing down the output a little bit, because when you boost it off the rip, the vocal kind of got a little louder, so I ended up bringing down the output a little bit. Oh, Brody tripping, had to get the mans off. Oh, Brody tripping, had to get the mans off. Oh, Brody tripping, had to get oh, Brody tripping, had to get Another thing, the low mids, like if you listen really closely, listen before. Oh, Brody tripping, had to get the mans off. There's a couple words in there that get kind of muddy, which is crazy because I have multi-band compressors and all this stuff, and somehow it's still getting a little muddy. just on a few words. So it actually smoothed that out. Listen with it. Without. It's very subtle. This is very advanced stuff right here. This isn't too easy to hear, but if you really listen, you can hear that by boosting the 800 hertz, that mid-range made it to where those few words were not as muddy now. You know, mid-range is going to add character in the voice. So if there's cool little dirtiness in the voice that you want to grab or want it to shine, or just a fullness, mid-range makes things sound less cheap. Let's put it that way. If a vocal has too much high end and the mids are scooped, it can sound cheap. It's kind of like if you're a guitar player, like if you get like a solid state amp and they just sound super like scooped and fizzy up top and it sounds very cheap. But then you get a nice tube amp that costs a lot of money and the mid-range is just so rich. The same goes for vocals. I'm not saying you're not going to have problems in the mid-range with vocals. You're definitely going to. But I have found, and this is a tip I'm giving you, I have found that when you fix all those problems, which is all these EQs here, so I am compressing mid-range in here, some more in here. As you can see, I have like a big cut at like 500 hertz, a cut at 1,000. So that's me fixing the mid-range. But then when I get to the end of my chain, it can sound a little harsh, just a little bit, because you need mid-range. So I'm adding it back in a good area. I already know that 500 wasn't good because I cut it out. I already know that 1K wasn't good because I cut it out. So this is a nice middle ground. And I've noticed that 800 doesn't have too many bad things most of the time. I won't say always, especially with this EQ. I brought up the API EQ because this is a very colorful EQ. Very good. Most of the time, I'm going to use an EQ like this for a boost, like a colorful boost like this. I'm not going to get out a Pro Tools EQ. No. So this is a colorful EQ for sure. Oh, Brody tripping, had to get the mans off. Said I'm switching, gotta be kidding, bitch, you dead got some shit I make got some shit I make your head pop. See what it sounds like moving it around a little bit? Got some shit I make your head pop. Niggas scared, got them gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental, bitch. Got some shit I make your head pop. Niggas scared, got them gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental, bitch, I almost ran. And you know, 1.5 sounds okay too, you know? It's honestly something you could just play with. This is a very colorful EQ. It's just a little thinner, so you lose a little bit of the fullness in the vocal, but sometimes that can be a cool sound though. All right, listen before this EQ now. Way more cut through. Way more cut through. You can hear the lyric more. One thing to know about mid-range in a vocal is lyrics. If you're ever mixing a song and you're like, what did he say? What was that? That's mid-range. You're lacking it. You should never, ever not hear a lyric. So if you don't hear a lyric, then you're missing something in the mid-range. got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental, bitch, I almost ran off. Stuck up in the system, this wasn't the... And if you like this move, to get it to cut through here, you can always do a small boost in the low end if you lost some. Make your head pop, niggas scared, got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental, bitch, I almost ran off. Stuck up in the system, this was wrong. Got some shit that make your head pop, niggas scared, got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental. Cool. I'm gonna go back to 800, so I think I like that. But I don't need the boost really with that. Make your head pop, niggas scared, got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental, bitch, I almost ran off. Stuck up in the system, this wasn't the plan at all. Never fall for your brothers or your mother, get the paper, cause you know, bitch, if you don't got some shit that make your head pop, niggas scared, got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my... Yeah, subtle. That's what we do as audio engineers. We hear subtle things. And as you go through your whole mix, doing subtle mix moves, little move, little move, little move, little move, it all adds up to a huge sounding mix. Huge. This is without all my plugins, just to give you an idea. These are all little moves that I did. Make your head pop, niggas scared, got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Whoa, right? That's, you know, because vocals normally at the mic, at the source, don't sound that good. Microphones do not pre-mix your material. Yes, you can get a really good sounding microphone, for sure. But it's still going to sound very raw compared to the standards that are expected in the audio world. People expect vocals to be precise, perfect EQ, controlled in all frequency areas, compression throughout to where nothing is popping out, attack and release time set perfectly. We want a smooth vocal. Make your head pop, niggas scared, got him gripping on them dreadlocks. Fucked up in my mental, bitch, I almost ran off. Stuck up in the system, this wasn't the plan at all. Never fall for your brothers or your mother, get the pay. Alright guys, that's it for this week's tutorial. I want to talk about the vocal mixing masterclass. The vocal mixing masterclass is the key for you to really take this to the next level. I have 9 hours of content, worksheets, Pro Tools template with Waves plugins, how to profit as an audio engineer, bonus video, and an acoustic treatment ebook. So if you're at home and you want to know, okay, how can I mix through these speakers in this room? I put together an ebook, how to treat your own room on a budget, so you can do exactly what I do. To be honest, I mix and master full-time from home. You don't need a huge room. Something the size of a bedroom is all you need to be able to do this as a career. The times have changed so much since years ago when I started back in 2008. I worked in many studios, and that was the only way back then, but it is way different now. So if you go down into the description and click on the link, check out the Vocal Mixing Masterclass. It is an investment that you will not regret. And also, if you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. PVA's channel is growing, and I'm very, very thankful for everybody that's tuned in. I will see you guys next week.